The shark had swum under the board of another surfer. Do you know if this sentence is correct? Would you change the word in bold? Hello everyone, I'm Esther. Welcome to part 2 of the editing challenge. I'm going to explain the next few questions of the 2017 O-Level English exam paper in detail. If you want to watch the first video, go to englishmastery.sg/editing-challenge to get a video after you've finished this one. The link is also provided in the description box. Now let's jump right into the next few questions from the 2017 O-Level English exam paper. This text is about how Dean Norburn, an Australian surfer, had a narrow escape during a close encounter with a shark. Let's continue with the third question. The third line reads, "It brushed past Dean before landed on the board. Luckily, it quickly swam off." Is there an error in this sentence? If so, can you spot it? The error is the word landed. Many of you will think this is an easy question. While that is true, if you want to be a strong writer who can consistently score 9 to 10 marks on the editing test, you not only need to be able to pick out the error, you also need to explain why this is wrong. Knowing the why is as important as getting the correct answer. To find out why, we do not look at the word landed itself, but we have to consider the preceding word before. Before is an adjunct preposition. It is used to show the relationship between time or two events. The first event is that the shark brushed past Dean. The second is that it landed on the board after the first event. When we use the word before to connect two events, we need to use the gerund, which is the verb ing form. For instance, you would say, Mariam woke up before getting a cup of coffee, and not, Mariam woke up before got a cup of coffee. That is why the word landed in this sentence is wrong. Landed is in the past tense, whereas the correct verb form should be the ing form. Now that you know you have to use a gerund, which is a verb ending with an ing, we will correct the error landed to landing. It brushed past Dean before landing on the board. And that is the correct answer. Before moving on to the next question, did you know that you could also correct this sentence by using a clause? Let me show you using the Mariam example. Besides changing the word got to getting, we could also use a clause to correct this. You could say, Mariam woke up before she got a cup of coffee. She is the subject and got is the verb. Together, they make a clause. Why is knowing how to use a clause so important? Can't we just change the verb to a gerund by adding an ing, solve the problem, and move on? Learning how to use a clause is important in the situational or continuous writing sections. That's because many students make mistakes using gerunds, especially when their ideas are complex. One trick around this problem is to use a clause since we are so comfortable with clauses. Clauses form the foundational blocks of a complete sentence, and we've been using them since primary 1. Therefore, if you want to play safe, one smart way around using gerunds is to use a clause instead. At English Mastery, we not only explain grammar items in the editing section, but we also grasp every chance to help our students see how grammar relates to their writing. We don't think of each section of the English paper as separate from the others. We help our students to understand how all parts of the English paper work together as a whole. When it comes to the editing section, there is one thing to note. We can only pick out one word and replace it with the correct answer. We cannot introduce a new word to correct the error. Hence, we can only apply the first method of using a gerund in this question. Let's move on to question 4. In the beginning of the video, I asked if you would change this word swum in bold. Have you figured out if you would? In the original text, the sentence reads, It brushed past Dean before landing on the board. Luckily, it quickly swam off, and having swum under the board of another surfer, it disappeared. Most students would happily lunge at the word swum and change it to swam because swam sounds more familiar. After all, when was the last time anyone used swum? Who uses this word anyway? Unfortunately, swam is the wrong answer. That's why relying on intuition or what feels right is taking a risk. Ultimately, every student should strive to be able to explain why an answer is right or wrong. This brings us to the topic of using past participles. Can you pick the correct answer in the sentences below? The water has freeze, froze, or frozen. They have do, did, or done their homework. Having went, or gone through a difficult time, the family decided to go on a vacation. And the answers are frozen, done, and gone. Why? That's because when you use verbs like has, have, had, and having, you have to use the past participle. Do you remember that dreadful irregular verbs table you had to memorize in primary school? Do, did, done, begin, began, begun, know, knew, known? Well, you needed to memorize the table for a good reason. It shows you the present tense, the past tense, as well as the past participle. Present and past tense verbs are easy to use. How about the past participle? Today we have learned one way to use the past participle. To help you remember it, just memorize this golden rule. Has, have, had, having, plus past participle. Back to the sentence. It should take the form of having plus past participle. Swim is the present tense verb, swam is the past tense verb, and finally swum is the past participle verb. Hence, since the sentence is already using the past participle, it is correct. There is no need to change anything in this sentence, so you just have to put a tick in the space provided and get that 1 mark. Let's explore this sentence a little more and I will show you something interesting. Do you think there's a difference in meaning between these two sentences? Having swum under the board of another surfer, it disappeared. Swimming under the board of another surfer, it disappeared. The first sentence has the phrase having swum, whereas the second sentence simply has swimming. Do you think they mean the same thing? The answer is no. In the first sentence, it means that the shark has completed the action of swimming under the board of another surfer before disappearing. It first swam under the surfer's board, then it disappeared. In the second sentence, it means that the shark was both swimming under the board of another surfer and disappearing at the same time. Both actions occur concurrently. Grammar is interesting because we can use it to show such intricate details in the time that each event happens, don't you think? Imagine having the chance to learn these grammar rules in great detail every week. Wouldn't you start to gain great confidence over time? At English Mastery, we not only handpick and teach important grammar rules that students need, we also keep close tabs on the learning progress of every one of our students. For instance, we use score sheets to track our students' scores. The band descriptors we use clearly show our students the areas they need to improve on. Every child gets feedback on specific areas they need to work on. We update parents every term 4 times a year on their child's progress. A lot of emphasis is given to corrections because we believe that breaking bad habits and incorporating healthy habits only happen in the correction process. This is our firm commitment to be responsible educators. If you would like to receive more English tips like this, be sure to subscribe to our newsletter at englishmastery.sg/subscribe. To find out what other parents are saying about us, go to englishmastery.sg/testimonials. Remember to like and share this video with someone who will benefit from watching it. See you soon in the next video.